Pretty tall. This is my daughter Lauren. My daughters Lauren and Lindsay. Lauren is 5. She was diagnosed with leukemia in January of this year. It was January 4th. She has ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. We are very blessed that she is standard risk, and she has a very great prognosis. The cure rate or the treatability rate for this is over, what I've read and what I've been told, is over 90%. There's 4 different types of leukemia, and within each type, there's different risk levels for various reasons. We're very blessed with the condition she has. I never thought I would say that. We're very blessed for the kind of leukemia she has, but we are. It definitely makes a big difference in your day-to-day mental and emotional state, and physical state, and family state, and everything else. We went into the hospital on January 4th, and she left the hospital February 17th. She turned 5 on February 13th. And we sang happy birthday to her. It was the hardest birthday song I ever sang, but I look back and I'm so glad, that we had. While we're, she's in remission, and I think now I really should know this, but there's just so much going on. I mean, there's so much going on in like normal lives, just with day-to-day activities, everything. Managing your kids and your schedules and whatever's going on in your family and your history and your life. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on, just period. And then you throw cancer, another spoke in the wheel, and it's like, oh my gosh. But I should know. I'll find out for the next meeting, but I'm pretty sure she's cancer-free. She was in remission when we left, and at this point in time in her treatment, I think she's considered cancer-free, but she has to finish her treatment, which will be February 2013. It's a 2-year treatment program for her risk level and for what her diagnosis is. I remember when we left the hospital, there's another sorry. Too much Toastmasters. When we were in the hospital, they said that all the doctors and the staff were like, well, you'll create a new normal. I'm like, I don't know how, but with the help of family and friends and Fairy Godmother Project, we have. In the hospital was really, really hard, especially towards the end. She was so ready to go. She was a trooper. She wanted to know what everything was. She watched every little poke and prod, and she asked questions about all the different kinds of meds she was getting, and she knew one of parts of her treatment is, she gets spinal taps and they give her chemotherapy into her spine. And she wanted to know why they did it, and she, at this point, understood what leukemia is, and it's sick blood cells, and they have to take a sample, give you medicine in your spine just to double, make sure that it's all the sick cells are being treated, and they take a little sample and they look at it under the microscope. Well, she was all over, well, I want to see. So she is a very inquisitive, smart little girl, and one day at the clinic, they let her see her cells under the microscope. So luckily there was no leukemia cells to observe. Her treatment is a 5-phased plan. I think it's 5. I should have bet it off. All I know is that we're in the last one. Okay, but it's the longest one. We have 70 weeks. Yes, 70 weeks left till February 2013. She currently, our treatment is a repeating 3-week regime, and it's inclusive of 1 day a week we travel to Fairfax, and there we get seen by the doctor. She gets blood drawn. One out of 3 weeks, it's through her port. They access her port. If you're not familiar with what that is, It's she has basically it's a central line under her skin, and there's the needle, which I usually refer to as a nail, and it's connected to a tube, and they access her port, you know, and it's not fun, you know, but she's brave, and some weeks are better than others. Some weeks she doesn't, you know, say a word, and some weeks she cries and screams, but she sits still, which is what her jump is. She's very good at it. So she gets doctor visits, she gets blood drawn, either through the port or through the finger. She gets chemo, which is injections in her legs, and then she was getting a intravenous antibiotic, so she didn't get a certain kind of pneumonia, and she was, but now we're taking pills for that at home, so we don't have to do that part. That was a 3-hour process just for that. So we go to Fairfax once a week for that, and then in addition to that, there's at-home meds, which are inclusive of there's an at-home chemotherapy pill she takes at night for 2 weeks out of the 3-week regime. She's starting to take pills by herself, so that's helpful, because without that we have to crush it up and put it in juice. Then she drinks the juice, and then we have to add a little water to make sure we get all the little particles, because she has to take it all. So that's her at-home chemo. We have to wear gloves when we do it. She takes steroids 5 days out of the 3. I hate steroids. It makes art. But, you know, I'll take it because it's healing her. There's roid rage, there's hunger, there's cravings like I never had when I was pregnant, and they're very specific, and if you don't have it, you have to go to the store. There's just no way around it. You know, there's no discipline involved. You just got to do it. And then in addition to that, there's Miralax. I think we all know what that's for. There's Pepsid, there's Tylenol, and then there's Tylenol with codeine, and then there's Zofran for nauseousness. I think that covers everything. So that's basically just her treatment. Now, luckily, the Zofran, she doesn't have to take it on a regular basis. And I'm hesitant to say it out loud, because now when I go home, she's going to have it every day. But she doesn't have, I mean, I've had to give it to her like 3 times. We are very blessed, and I think that there has been divine intervention in our situation. I know stories of other children who don't tolerate the medicine as well, and so she doesn't have to take the Zofran very often. She doesn't have to take the Tylenol. I mean, literally, I can probably count on one hand how many times I've had to give it to her. We left the hospital February 17th, so we're very lucky, very blessed. And then there's the Tylenol with codeine. I've had to give her that 2 or 3 times. The steroids can make your bones hurt, can make your muscles ache. One of her chemos she gets is vincristine. That can make any boo-boo that you had, it can escalate that, and it can just cause pain. So if she's playing too hard, then she gets back pain, or pain here or there. So there's been a couple of times where in the middle of the night I've had to give her some Tylenol with codeine, and then hopefully that would work. If it didn't, then I was going to have to rush her to the hospital. So that's her treatment. That's her meds. And that's basically 1 day a week, and then at-home treatment. Now, with all that treatment, we have we're also balancing some behavioral challenges, which are totally okay because they're completely understandable, but there's behavioral challenges, especially not steroids. Then there's learning. She's in kindergarten. She was in preschool when she got diagnosed at Ferry Farm Baptist. They're great people who are there. And now she's in kindergarten. It's a day-by-day decision whether to send her, depending on how she feels. Does she have a fever? Do I think she's getting a cold? Or do I know of other people that may have sniffles over there? This past week she went 4 days. Wednesday we went to clinic, and this is the first week that she went all 4 days. But she's doing great. She's having fun. She complains about going to school like a normal kid. She's like, I'm bored. It's hot. She's really a trooper. And then her little sister Lindsay is also in preschool. So with the treatment and the steroids, and with the treatment and the steroids and the cravings and the pickiness of a 5-year-old and the, then our family life. Oh, sibling. Lindsay, bless her heart, you know, is a thriving 3-year-old who there's sibling rivalry, they fight all the time, you know, there's discipline necessary, you know, and then you administer the discipline, and then after that, I am like, oh great, I just totally screamed at my child with cancer, oh my God, what am I doing, you know? But it's necessary if you're trying to thrive in a normal life as possible and believe in your hearts of hearts everything is going to be fine. You need to proceed as best you can, and to be a good mom or parent or role model, discipline's important sometimes. You still have to do it. So that is our treatment since diagnosis. But before, our lives were, I don't know about normal. I mean, yeah, I know, that's what I was going to say. Everybody's definition of normal, my husband always says that, everybody's definition of normal is different. And I don't even know if ours was. We moved to Fredericksburg, or we moved back to Virginia from Colorado 4 years ago, actually this week. And we're still not unpacked. I got pregnant soon after we moved here, and now my daughter's, the youngest one is 3, so, you know, we dealt with the newborn and unpacking, and we're still not unpacked. So, but before it was busy, anxious, joyous, messy, not messy, organized, not organized, you know, I just winging it. You know, but now our normal is inclusive of pediatric cancer, and it still includes all of that, but it's, personally for me as a mom, it definitely includes, you know, increased anxiety, increased fear. You know, I already was a huge worrier, and now it's every night, you know, I don't know if I keep myself busy on purpose or stay up late on purpose because I don't want to have time to think about the what if. You know, like I said, we're blessed for our diagnosis, but there are families whose situation even, you know, is much more dire. It's, you know, the what if, there's definitely increased fear, there's increased anxiety, there's anger, there's sadness, there's mourning what was, there is happiness, and there's joy, and it's, you know, a lot of it's, you know, new things that are funny, new things to laugh at. You know, Lauren always, she's like, oh, I know, Wednesday clinic, blah, blah, blah. You know? It's like, I hate the clinic. You know, they have an art therapy room there, and always remind her of that, but we get to go make this, that. Yeah. So she finds joy or gets creative in whatever she does. So with the increased, so our new normal, all right, we've got increased time management challenges. We've got increased logistical challenges. We've got increased, you know, sibling rivalry. We've got increased emotions all over the board. We have increased fights. My husband and I are just out there. We like fight all the time, you know. But there's increased closeness when those fights are over. There's, you know, I mean, it's you go change Lindsay's diaper. No, I got to give Lauren her steroids. You know, I mean, that's there. So. It can get overwhelming. It definitely can. It can get overwhelming from the generosity that exists out there, especially from the Fairy Godmother Project. It can get overwhelmed from the friendship that's out there from new and old friends. It can get overwhelming from the fear. It can get overwhelming just from all the information that's out there. It's just, it can be, well, for me personally, it can be stifling. You know, there's a website called Momcologist. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations. There's all this information, and that's not real, that's just from Facebook dabbling. That's not even from going on the internet. And I did that once, and I'm not going back there. It's not a good thing. So thank God for the Fairy Godmother Project, because their assistance has helped decrease some of the anxieties, has helped decrease the logistical challenges, helped decrease the time management challenges. They have provided meals, they have cleaned my house, they have provided friendship, they have been a shoulder. They've just, they've done a lot for our family. And it has helped tremendously because all of those things, by their effort decreasing all those things I just mentioned, allows me to spend, or allows my husband and I to spend more quality time with our family, which if your mind is in the what if scenario, that's really what's important. You know, I mean, God forbid something happened, but you have to be there every day, and if you have to discipline as best you can as a mom, and that's the thing that you have to do that day, but you have to do it as best you can, and you know, and appropriately as you can. I mean, you just have to make every day your best because you don't know what's going to happen. And the Fairy Godmother Project helps me do that, definitely, and my husband. The article that existed, or the article that was in the paper is funny. My husband is, the one thing, I think the first thing, well, Stephanie organized some meals for us as soon as, or Stephanie and Ashley, my neighbors, came to visit us in the hospital, and then she organized some meals and stuff like that. And then the Fairy Godmother Project got like more formally involved, and I had met Jill, her friend Jill, in the hospital. She was stalked me. The stalker. Yeah, and then she paid it forward. She came. She's like, yeah, I was told to come meet you. So we met. I
don't
met
know
Jill.
who told her to.
Yeah. And there was another girl too that stalked me too. I think.
A friend of Jill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lyndon.
Yeah.
So it. I forgot where it was, but it. It's definitely been a godsend.
Are you talking about the article?
Oh, sorry. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the article. Only because I think it's funny.
Thanks. Oh.
I don't know if that's the story you're going to tell.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
One of the first formal things that they did for us was they came and they organized my freezers. Now, that was mentioned in the article that was in the paper, the first one. And when I was speaking to the reporter, I then expanded on that. I was like, well, that's kind of like an odd task to do, I think, for somebody. So I explained on why. I'm like, well, my husband's really, really frugal, and he has all freezers stocked full, and I don't have time to juggling the 3-year-old with a baby diaper, and then Lauren and her meds or steroids or whatever. I don't have time to dig into the bottom and find something for dinner, or to find the waffles, or I can't do that. So they came over and helped organize my freezers. Well, Jim, my husband, was traveling in San Diego for business when the article came out, and then he called me. I hadn't had a chance to tell him yet. He called me from San Diego. He's like, apparently I'm a frugal shopper. he said, one of my old clients called Jeff, my brother, in Richmond. And one of his old clients, I think, is now the interim assistant head guy for Stafford County or something like that, but who is now one of my brother-in-law's clients. And anyway, so he called Jeff, and then Jeff called me, and then Jeff called him in San Diego to tell me he was a frugal shopper, and it was in the paper. But it was funny. And I was on the phone in the car with him, and Lauren and Lindsay were in the car, and they just heard me laughing and tears coming down my face, and Lauren's like, "Oh, Daddy's a frugal shopper. He buys a lot of fruit." No. So then we explained what it was. So now, I haven't told you guys this yet, but this past weekend, Lauren and Lindsay, my in-laws, were down helping because my husband was out of town again. Lauren and Lindsay were running around, frugal shopper, you're a frugal shopper. Of course, my in-laws got a big hoot out of it too. But anyway, so some of the things, before, if you decide to be a volunteer, which I hope you do, because it's a wonderful, wonderful effort, and the families really do need it. I know, I don't know personally other people in the area that are in this situation, but I know that there's one that's a single mother, and her son's diagnosis is different than Lauren's. growing up in a single parent home, I know how hard that is even without cancer. I mean, I can't even imagine. We are very blessed. My husband and I are very blessed to have the situation that we're in, and that I'm able to be home. I stopped working when Lindsay was born by choice, and it was what was supposed to happen. So, if you decide to be a volunteer, then just know I think I'm an okay mom, but I'm not a good housekeeper, so just ignore the mess. I try to be organized, and sometimes I am, but that lasts for like a minute. If you come to my house, just make sure you bring a sense of humor. Helps us get through the day. Don't watch Hoarders before you come to my house, or if you do, don't go in the office. And then if you come while my kids are there, just be ready for whatever. I mean, it's a day by day. Who knows what's going to happen? It's a little bit more predictable now, and it probably will get even more predictable as we continue through treatment. Luckily, not everybody is in that kind of treatment mode. Some families have to travel to Philadelphia and Boston for much different, much different, much more toxic type of treatment. We don't have to do that right now. Luckily, we don't, and we won't. We won't have to do that. So if you come to my house, be prepared for playing Barbies, or perhaps I have to rush Lauren to a trip to the ER, or doing crafts, or pain management, or vomit. So you never know what's going to happen. It's happened. It happened with Victoria. Sorry to be graphic, but that's part of the world with cancer. We don't speak of cancer we speak of cancer. Lauren knows everything. I told her I would never lie to her. We don't speak of it as being life-threatening, and I definitely try not. She's very smart and very intuitive. I try not to tell stories of, or over here, or, such and such relative passed away from breast cancer, or passed away from this, or whatever. I don't tell this, she'll click into that, and I don't want to do that. She knows she has cancer. And we definitely don't say the word, well, I'm not going to say it, I'm just going to spell it F-E-V-E-R. We don't say that word out loud in my house, ever. If Lauren gets one of those and it's 100.5, then I have to call the doctors, and then they'll instruct me what to do. More than likely, that means a trip to Fairfax emergency room, and it may or may not mean admission. We're blessed that we've only had to do that twice since we left the hospital. Once was for a croup, but when we do that, she gets access. And I mean, that in itself is just traumatic enough. It involves the tape on the skin, and it's just hard. So one night one time we were admitted, another time we weren't. So we don't say that word in our house. Another thing is that with the Fairy Godmother Project and the cleaning, I forgot to mention earlier, but it is so very, very important. It's not just helpful from a task elimination perspective. It's helpful because the kids in these situations they can become neutropenic, which means that their immunity levels drop so low that's what the term is, that it's low and unsafe, and they can get sick very easily and very, very fast. In the hospital, there's one measure that people in the pediatric oncology world is called an ANC. You may or may not be familiar with that term, but a normal healthy adult's ANC is between 2,000 and 4,000. And then in the hospital, if the kids had an ANC of 500, of course when they're finishing treatment stuff, but if they had an ANC of 500 or above, or above 500, then they could leave. So 500 is considered good for these kids. So cleaning the house is very, very important. And having the house clean, like I said, it's not just from a task elimination, but for me personally, it decreases fears. It decreases, I can't go to sleep now. I need to go clean the bathroom, or and it's not just because I want the place clean. It's because you have to. It could be a life or death situation. too that I wanted to make is the treatment. Most of the treatments for this is not here in Fredericksburg. It's either Fairfax or DC or Richmond, or like I said before, maybe for phases of your treatment you have to go to some of the other cities. It's tiring. It's hard. It's tiring, but you do what you got to do to take care of your child. So just a couple last points I wanted to mention about like our new normal is, we're tired. We hate steroids. we're tired. It's hard constantly making second by second decisions, inclusive of cancer, especially for your child. I never thought in a million years I'd have to do that. My husband, like I said, we fight more. We're still together. Like my aunt said, you're still married. That's good. But we fight more. And her pill, 6-MP, we have to give it at night. You have to have it 2 hours after food and milk. And she likes her milk in her sippy cup, and I'm still letting her do it. If that gives her comfort, she can do it. That's fine. But if she is having milk at 7 or 8, then we have to stay up and give her 6-MP. So giving chemo at night for the 2 weeks is hard from a sleep perspective. Sometimes we fall asleep while we're waiting up to give her medicine, and then my husband has to get up at 5:30 at work, and we take turns, and it's hard. It's hard. So the Fairy Godmother Project helps with all of that. Helps us navigate our new normal. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your time.